What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
I'm back. What's up? What's up?
What's going on? You show up and then the other two leave. So it's just me and Shannon for this week. Unfortunately, Chris and Daniel could not make it, but we have some really good topics to discuss, as well as definitely tune in for all of the shenanigans on Friday's episode. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask CISSP. I won't have one for this week, but I will have one for next week. I have an interview with Lynn Dom from WeSys already in the can. I just have to finish editing it. And then, of course, like I said, Fridays are everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article actually comes from yahoo.com by way of CNN. So they do that every once in a while with Yahoo. They'll reference other articles, but it's written by Sean Lingas. And the title of this one is FBI seizes websites that North Koreans allegedly use to impersonate American companies. So we actually went through this not too long ago. We were talking about this, about the North Koreans that were impersonating people to get into these companies, get legitimate jobs to these companies. Because, you know, remote work is all the rage now. Everybody wants it. You know what I'm saying? Am I right, Ryan? Right?
I can't go back. You had to take it from my cold, dead hands.
No, it was one of those things where North Korea was profiting from this. But the websites that they were using, there was 4 websites that were being used that were identified by cybersecurity firm SentinelOne, and they were North Korean fronts, and they've all been seized. So now when you go to the sites in North Korean and English, they say, hey, you've been seized. We're taking you down. No more of this. We ain't playing this game with y'all no more, right? Like it's coming to an end. But this was an interesting article because something that I read in here that kind of piqued my interest was that these scams they've been doing with this, like when it comes to this type of thing where they were impersonating the workers and cryptocurrency theft, were actually funding half of their missile program in North Korea. Now, despite what you may believe about North Korea and how they may not be up to snuff when it comes to their missiles that just fall into the ocean sometimes, that's a lot of money. Like they're making a lot of money worldwide doing that, especially with the cryptocurrency thing, right? Because that's gone up like gangbusters in the last 8 years, I want to say, for sure, 8 years. But it's been funding a lot of their missile programs. So for it to take a hit like that is a good thing, right? Because it keeps North Korea from making money that way. Now, mind you, they might have some allies, right? Your China's and your Russia's that may help them out a little bit more. But the fact that this got shut down like this, I'm not mad, you know what I mean? But yeah, the front companies, they were very good fronts because they were closely mimicking, legitimate sites, right? It's one of those things where you have to be careful what you're looking at and paying attention to what you're looking at to see those different things, right? You got to make sure you're not on Microsoft.com or something like that. You know what I mean? Man, like it's not Microsoft, you know what I mean? Like things like that. They'll just do things to make them look very good. And they're getting better and better at it, right? Like there's tools out there to make it better, to include AI. So a better job of the grammar. Like the grammar used to be a big telltale sign when it came to looking for things. Like that's not even proper English. I know a big corporation like this would not make such a mistake like that, right? But it's becoming easier and easier to do this, right? It's one of those things that it's going to come up in one of our later articles as well, talking about how AI is making it so much easier for people to recruit even, right? But yeah, this was one of those things where I'm glad to see it happen, but you got to stay on top of it, right? Because for these 4 that fall, it's like Hydra, right? Where one may fall, 2 will take its place. That's just the way that these things go. But Ryan, what's your thought?
Yeah, I'm glad that they're starting to crack down, and we'll talk about it's kind of foreshadowing to another topic that's coming up in Tuesday's episode, right? What kind of baffles me is the checks and balances. So when you are hired onto one of these companies, there's a lot of verifying the W-2s, and you have to submit passports, and there's a lot of HR that goes into the hiring process. So is it a lax within HR, or are they just that good where they're able to fake socials and passport numbers and things of that nature as well when they go to verify, W-4 is what you have to do when you initially get hired on? And I-9.
W-4 and I-9, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that is supposed to verify that you're a real person and keep the company out of trouble, right? When it comes to tax, things of that nature. But no, North Korea is able to circumvent it and get around it, apparently. So if they, like you said, if they took down 4 websites, there's probably another 40 out there. But it's better than doing nothing. So it's a good start, and hopefully this does deter their kind of siphoning of American dollars and cryptocurrency to work on the weapons program and things of that nature. So it's just not feeding the stray cat at this point.
So my hope is that the amount of money that's been put into from I'll say this from the American administrations, right? I hope the amount of money that's been put into this is something that just keeps going forward, right? Because like to put effort into this costs money, right? As much as we say to ourselves, okay, we have these organizations out here that do these things, the Department of Justice, your FBI, because we've seen, especially during this current administration, the last 4 years, a lot of international like task forces and things that go out and do these types of things. Like that is what is really needed because it is getting easier for them to accomplish these different types of scams out there. Like the money just needs to be put into it, and I'm hoping going forward it is something that we still do, but only time will tell.
Right. We'll find out in January. But so that again, I maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I think that is the status quo that will continue to flow. There'll be a lot of changes coming up. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think when it comes to cybersecurity and our current investment and just the path moving forward, I believe there won't be that much disruption. But again, time will tell. I think Jen Easterly already put her notice in. So, because every administration, they're going to hire somebody else, right? That's just the way it is. They rarely keep the incumbent. So,
Well, I think it's standard though. So I think it's one of those things that's standard that they always offer their resignation, and it's up to the incoming administration to say, no, we want to keep you on. We don't accept.
okay,
So I
gotcha.
think it's standard that everybody, when the administration changes, submits it and goes from there.
Okay,
Right.
so
So,
that does make sense.
but here's the thing though. Even though Jen Easterly has done a very good job, like these last few years, it's one of those things where it's just going to be seen as government waste though. Is the amount of money that needs to go into this, it's just going to be one of those things that's government waste that they think they need to get rid of. I hope not, right? Because like you
Right.
can see the writing on the wall and you can see how it has long reaching effects, the second and third order effects in this. I hope it's not seen as government waste, but you don't know, right? Like there's a new I don't want to call it a division, there's a new department being stood up for just,
On Doge,
government
yeah,
efficiency. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
Department of Government Efficiency.
government
So,
efficiency. So
and I think in this regard, I think it'll be apples and oranges because we all know that Elon hates remote work, when it's like this is not his thing. So I don't think it'll be necessarily a cut to this. It'll be a cut to remote work. He's gonna return a lot of people to office if possible, which sucks. Like I'd be very upset if that were to happen. Not to get too, because I don't think that's politics. I think that's just work. Like no, I don't want to return to office. Count me out. But I think he's so anti that because he believes it to be fraud, waste, and abuse from his perspective, right? I think that may work its way into other systems.
and that's definitely something in the government they look out for, right? The FWA. We had to take that training all those years, right? Like when we were in the military, it's like, oh, fraud, waste, and abuse, how to identify it, what to do with it. So it's already in their wheelhouse to be like, yep, cut that.
Right, right. Yeah, because I worked for IG as part of my last assignment in the military, so we did a lot of that. So when you think IG Inspector General, you think a lot of wrongful termination. You think of trying to remember what we called it. It's retaliation, but I forget it's called something else. And then fraud, waste, and abuse, right? So yeah, it's already baked in, but we'll see. We'll see what they do with it. But definitely,
Retribution, what you're doing?
it's not retribution. It's not retaliation. It's reprisal. There it is. That
Yeah,
was the
there
term
you
we
go.
used,
Yeah.
reprisal. But we'll see what they decide to do with a lot of our current initiatives when it comes to cracking down on these would-be impersonators and bad actors on the internet.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from cyberscoop.com, written by Tim Starks. And the title of this one is Meta Cracks Down on Millions of Accounts It Tied to Pig Butchering Scams. All right. So pig butchering scams, right? So what this is just like when it comes to pig butchering, sorry for any vegetarians or vegans out there, but you got to have to hear about this, is fattening up the pig for the slaughter is pretty much what it is, right? And so what Meta has done is that there's all these accounts out there, and this is not the first time they've done this, right? And actually, this is one of the things that, granted, we're talking about Meta for this one. This is one of the things that Elon hit on as soon as he took over X as well, right? Was getting rid of these accounts that were pretty much kind of fake scam accounts that were out there or bots and things like that. But what they did, they took down millions of accounts that were linked to overseas scam centers, right? That were doing pig butchering. So what was happening was, you would have people that would get reached out to, and this, I'll go into this and then I'll give my opinion on this a little bit after, right? So what you would have was that they would reach out to somebody just out of nowhere, right? Be like, hey, your name was in my contacts. I'm just reaching out or doing something. Then what they try to do is they just try to befriend you, get in your good graces, right? And so while they're doing that, this is where they set you up, right? They lull you into a false sense of security. Like maybe this is an old friend I don't remember or whatever, right? Which you would think you would remember your old friends, but maybe not. If you're one of those people that's heavy into Facebook, you got thousands of friends, right? Friends, Facebook friends. But what ends up happening is that all of a sudden they start giving you these different advice when it comes to like stock investing and things of this nature, right? So you feeling safe with them, you give them the money, or you invest through this fake investment scam, or you invest through this actual real company that they're playing the other way, right? So they're like, oh yeah, it's going to go up, but they may be shorting it, knowing something is going to go down or whatever, and you end up losing a bunch of money, right? So whenever you go to them and you feel they feel your sympathy, hey, well, do this. Like, I feel sorry for you. Do that. And the people just keep falling into this cycle of getting pig butchered. So they fatten you up for the slaughter is what they do, right? And the fattening up was the gaining your trust portion of it, right? So here's my thing with this, right? If there is somebody that you don't know that reaches out to you for no reason or for like it's like Kanye's song Real Friends, right? Like not a lot of us have them, right? So like if somebody reaches out and wants something from you, I don't want to have to pay you $250,000 to get my laptop back from you, like Kanye says, right? Like don't fall for this. Like don't if there is somebody that's reaching out and you're like, I don't remember them or don't know them or anything like that, and then they start giving you unsolicited financial advice, like the best thing for you to do is to do your homework, right? Like if they're like, hey, I'm going through, let's say Charles Schwab or whatever, right? Just go to this website or whatever. Like don't do it. Like it is a setup. You don't know the person. They're setting you up to be pig slaughtered, right? As this article talks about. But the point of it is that Meta got rid of a lot of these accounts, right? But here's the thing. What is Meta going to do differently to vet to make sure this doesn't happen again? Okay. Is this just going to be an endless cycle with them where they're just like, because they're as of right now, they're not charging anybody to get an account, right? Like you can go on and set it up however you want to, right? Now, where it may be a little bit different is that I know that with Google, right? Like with Gmail, they started going through this thing to where they're starting to kind of go through and not shorten their list. What am I trying to say? Call their listings of unused email accounts, right? So I don't know if you guys have seen this out there. Gmail, like if you haven't used it for 2 years, I think 2 years is the time frame for it. They're like, yeah, we're getting rid of those accounts, right? So people
That's
that
smart.
maybe
Yeah.
using them for this, yeah, exactly, right? And like Gmail's like one of the most popular ones out there, right? So if they're getting rid of these accounts, and I want to say December is their deadline to where they're like, hey, it's going to be cut come December. You don't have that for you. But again, what's keeping you from signing up to a new account? Like what's keeping you from doing this again for 2 years? Is Google going to get rid of the account in 2 years, right? Like, is Meta going to start doing better vetting to make sure do you have to provide more information or something like that, which is dangerous in itself. Like people are able to give a lot of information. They already give a lot of information to Meta, right? But like if they're like, hey, we need more from you, right? Like if all of a sudden they need your social, right? Okay, we need some banking information or stuff like
Right.
that. Don't do it. Like, oh, like don't do it. Like, leave Meta if they start doing that, right? But yeah, this is people. We need to be smarter about these things. We need to be careful about what we're giving out to people. And I realize in this day and age of social media, we give a lot of information out there. We as humans, I'm saying. I'm not saying we as me and Ryan, right? Because I definitely ain't giving it. You gotta find the kid, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is interesting. I'm glad Meta took the step, but what are they doing to prevent it from happening? Like you're being reactive, not proactive to this situation. What are you gonna do different? What's your thoughts on this?
No, I think you're hitting it the nail right on the head when it comes to their being very reactive. At least they're doing something, but I think there has to be a piece. I disagree with you a little bit with them taking a little bit more information, only because LinkedIn is doing something similar where they verify you by government ID. And that's kind of iffy, but not really, right? Like you can do a lot with a driver's license and driver's license number because it's not public record to my knowledge. However, I think it's a step into determining if you're a real person. It kind of goes back to our last episode with the verification for your W-4 and I-9. My only fear is that because they're such a large company, a breach of that magnitude could be pretty like terrible. You know what I mean? Like if you were to target a small business, small to medium sized business, you'd only get so many of those IDs. But if you were to target a Meta, which has billions of accounts, you would have, you'd be spoiled in riches.
Or local governments, like we have seen happening, right? So like
Right,
local
exactly.
governments like have the DMV, right? Like so people are getting their driver's license from their DMV. All of a sudden you got that information once it's hacked, right? And it may not be the city of, Miami or whatever, but that's a lot of people down there that you can get that information.
No, and that's very true. However, it's kind of like how much of your security are you willing to give up for your safety? So there's a balance there. So there has to be something to be done at some point in social media. The business of social media, they're going to have to do something to verify real people, because it's not just bots on LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn. I'm sorry, not just bots on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. It's now becoming a tool of social and political discourse, being used by other nation states. So something has to be done to verify people and make sure that they're real. I just don't know what that is. And the easiest solution would be to verify IDs. But again, you're giving them a lot of data. So maybe there's a third party component to it. Like maybe you're not giving your ID to a Meta. You're going through a ID and me or something like that will then feed Meta that, okay, this person is real. Maybe there's something like that, like some kind of SSO portal or something like that. I just don't know what that could entail, but something has to be done. So in the case of Pig Butcher, I was going to say shout out to Mike Ware. So Mike Ware brought this to our attention first, either earlier this year or was it late last year? I can't even, like, this year's flew by. I think it was earlier this year. But go ahead, Chen.
So even with SSO, right? Like with single sign-on, like it is a convenience to you to where you don't have to keep doing it for everything. But again, you leave yourself open for that one-stop shop thing, right? So like you only need to get to one thing, even though you use it to access five different sites or whatever it may be. That still could be an issue in itself, right? Because we say it all the time. Nothing is 100% non-fallible, right? Like you're trying to limit the risk. You're not going to eliminate risk, right? So like even with a single sign-on company, you have to hope they're doing their part, right? Like we've seen it to where the password wallet companies have been hacked, right? So there's no one single solution, but you do have to try to minimize that risk.
Yeah, at some point, but we have to do something. Social media is becoming more and more prevalent. Billions and billions of accounts of real people, not just bots and things of that nature. I know Elon said he's cracking down on the bots, and he may be to a certain extent, but I get a request every single day on X. I barely use it, right? I repost stuff on there, and it is good for uh like at the time, real time news. Like when things happen, they go to X really fast. Hopefully, that won't just be an X thing going forward, because there are some other sites that are popping up, right? Depending on what side you lean politically, what have you, you have your Truth Socials or your Blue Skies and so on and so forth. But um, there's more of them. There's like Threads as well. Like, so you have a lot of Twitter clones out there, right? So hopefully they also are starting to move in real time. But Twitter still is the king of it. If you want your information fast and somewhat uncensored initially, then you go to Twitter, and then it gets colored one way or the other, depending on who owns Twitter at the time. So yeah, something has to be done, but I do think pig butchering is because it's so easy, and you're able to flip people, right? You're able to say, okay, now you're in debt to me in some way or service to me, and now you are going to be part of the pyramid scheme. So now you're going out and you're pig butchering people in these Asian countries anyway. I don't think it's got its hooks in the States yet.
Well, I think it's easy because people want to have something that nobody else has, right? Like this is the same reason why they say social media is so prevalent. Is because people can spread misinformation or disinformation on social media, and then people will just keep spreading it because they're like, I have something that you don't have. I know information that you don't know, and it's appealing to humans, right? But you have to go through and look at it and be like, all right, does this sound right? You know what I mean? But I don't know. Again, I go back to I think people need to be better. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is all Meta's fault. I'm glad they're doing something about it, right? But I said the same thing when it came to Russian interference when it came to elections, right? You need to do your homework, right? You need to not be doing this. That was my stance on it. And I still feel that same way today. Like you are ultimately responsible. No one is making you press the buttons, right? Nobody's making
Right.
you forward anything. Nobody's making you go out and say outlandish stuff. You know what I mean? That's all on you. You chose to take this information, whether it be something that you already believed and you thought it was reinforcing what you already thought to be true, or whatever the situation may be, right? I'm guessing out here, but people be better at the information you put out there and what you give to people, right? But
Right.
in this social media age, that's not the case, right?
Yeah, you should vet whatever you're passing along because it happens. I reposted something I had to take down myself because I before I vetted it, I read it and I hit the reshare button, right, the repost button, and then later on that day I saw a counter argument to it with an article, and then I started reading, and I was like, I just passed along something that was incorrect, so I was like, took it down, and then I reposted like, hey, my bad, it's not true for X or Y reason. Because my fear, like, because you're like, well, why would you take it down? Why don't you just put the edit? Because people don't come back to read the edit. That's what the whole thing with newspapers when they get it wrong and they say, oh, we were wrong. It's too late. That information
It's
is
a
out there.
trap.
So I pulled it down so that way it doesn't keep being spread. But I also put an acknowledgement like, hey, I know I did like bad on me for pushing this misinformation. But misinformation has existed since forever. I think what separates us now from the past was, I mean, back then there was only a handful of papers and a very large population of illiterate people, so they weren't reading it anyway. So now we're very literate, and there's a paper for almost every single person. You know what I mean? Like anyone has the freedom to now post anything they want to. So there could literally be a newspaper per person if we so chose, especially with the proliferation of AI. So I don't know.
It's quicker to get that information out there with social media, right? You don't have to wait for something to run to print, run to press, or whatever,
Right.
and it get delivered to your doorstep. That's not the case. Your doorstep is in your hand now in the form of a mini computer.
Right, exactly. And then there's checks and balances in there, right? You have editors and people who should vet this stuff before it gets to the top. And there's bias, and it always has been. But yeah, like now I, as a person, could just hit the button. Like aliens outside, post a shadowy, blurry picture, boom. Someone's out there is going to be like, there's aliens outside. But there actually might be. We'll talk about that on Friday's episode.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from infosecuritymagazine.com, written by Beth Mondrill. And the title of this one was Ransomware Gangs on Recruitment Drive for Pen Testers, right? So just like with everything else, just like with anybody else that's developing something, you need to make sure, your ransomware is airtight, right? Or as tight as it can be, right? So what ends up happening here is that they talk about RAMP, right? Which is really RAMP 2.0, I want to say, because RAMP was shut down. The original iteration of it was shut down some years ago, probably like 4 or 5 years ago or something like that, right? It was like 2019, I want to say, something along those lines. But RAMP, which is the Russian Anonymous Marketplace, it doesn't say 2.0 on here, but I'm pretty sure it's 2.0. What they have is what they've seen is that multiple Russian language job listings have been showing up on there, right? RAMP is what it used to be this place where inside of Russia you could get like drugs, like a drug delivery type service. So that was the main purpose of it, right? Again, with the first iteration, but now they're like, all right, we're putting job postings out here for people that are pen testers, right? So when we do this ransomware as a service, we need to make sure our ransomware is pretty tight, right? The code is good. There's nothing in there. It's not going to work as advertised. Remember, with ransomware as a service, they're charging people for these services, right? Like they're putting stuff out there that will like pay us these tens of thousands of dollars, right? And then we'll give you these things that'll make it easier for you to go out there and benefit from these crimes that are out here doing, right? That the governments are looking for you now. I just want y'all to know, like, be on notice, right? Like, be on notice. They're coming after y'all, right? Multinational joint task force and all that stuff, right? But yeah, there's a whole economy behind this, right? Like there's a whole, I'm going to say like legitimize it. They're trying to legitimize what they do when it comes to these ransomware things, right? Like they treat it like when we did the story about them having their own court, like when they brought each other to court for, non-payment and stuff like that. Like they're very legitimate in what they're doing for their ill-begotten gain that they're trying to acquire, right? But yeah, so ransomware gangs, I don't want to say they're people too, but they're people too. So they're up there. They're out there. Ransomware as a service is one of those things where they are making a lot of money doing it, right? Crime is paying, right? And they actually mentioned it here. There's locker source code being sold for $45,000, right? So when I say the tens of $1,000s that they're charging people, again, you got to make sure it's tight, right? it's kind of weird to me because when you have these pen testers that are out there, my assumption, because Ramp is not something like, it's not like it's a legitimate website to go to. You got to search out Ramp. It's one of those dark web type things, right? So what I'm seeing here, the way I'm reading into this is that you have people that are supposed to be, honest workers that are probably going out here that are pen testers that are saying, okay, I need to make a little extra money, right? So what am I going to do? All right, I'm going to go ahead and work for these ransomware, right? So this could be one of those things where the second and third order effects of this are, if they find out you're a pen tester for one of these ransomware things, like, are you going to get charged as well when they start bringing down these ransomware gangs? Like, are you inadvertently going to be included in all of this, right? Like, even if I'm the getaway driver, to a murder, like, even though I didn't commit it, like, they're going to put me on trial too, right? Like, I'm acceptable after the fact, right? And that could be what happens here with this, right? So again, the Russians, man, like, they out here making it happen, right? And one of the things they're talking about, right? Shadow AI. AI has come up again, right? We talk about AI all the time, and here we are again talking about AI and how it's making it easier to accomplish these different tasks, right? So yeah, this is one of those things where folks, I get it, right? Like, everybody has another hustle, right? Everybody has a side hustle or whatever it may be. I have my legitimate job and I do this on the side, gives me a little bit extra. Stuff like this though, like, don't be out there helping me. You're gonna get caught, right? They're not your friends. They only care about what you can do for them. You're a number to them, right? So just be on the lookout, folks. Like, if you have to, first off, if you're going to ramp, you already know you're doing it, right. You've already done wrong there anyway. So when they shut this version of ramp down, right? Like, when this one happens to you for this ramp 2.0, just know you're gonna get caught up. All right. But Ryan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, they're always so clever. Like, I hate to give them their flowers, but they do a really good job of retrofitting or bending real practice into nefarious things. It's like, okay, well, now we have a marketplace where we are able to source and hire legitimate pen testers to then do our bidding or do whatever it is. And this is probably one of those situations where your part-time gig probably pays more than your full-time gig. So there's this temptation to do this full-time and you're going to jail. So don't do that, right? But I think even more importantly, it's, I don't know, there's a really weird duality here where it's, if you hired these people to do legitimate jobs and you made them full time and gave them benefits and all the other stuff, they would do it for legitimate reasons. They would be legal in this regard. That they're seeking out this nefarious activity, this side hustle, is because either, in my opinion, would be that they're not getting paid enough, they're not able to find enough employment. Because why risk your bread and butter? Because if you get caught, you will be banned from doing this type of activity legitimately ever again, right? Like, a lot of these certifications and bodies that hire you have a code of ethics where you can't be playing both sides. You can't be a bad guy and work for them. Probably ever, right? Like, most people have a ethics clause within their HR policies. So you're dabbling. So maybe it is that you are being greedy, but I think for the most part, for this marketplace to thrive, it has to be people who are seeking employment because they don't have enough legitimate opportunity. Would be my personal opinion. Because why would you play with the fire? Like, some people will play with the fire, but most people can live through others vicariously and say, nope, that's not, that's hot. I'm not going to go touch that.
Well, maybe these pyros just want the excitement, right? Like, so maybe they're sick of doing their day to day, right? They're like, oh, yes, okay, I'm doing this for my company or whatever, and you can be onto something where it is paying more, right? Like, I get it. Like, it's one of those things
Probably,
where,
yeah.
like,
It's
this side
probably
hustle.
3, 4, or 10x compared to what they're doing the same job and getting paid much more to do it.
I don't know, man. And the ethics thing, the code of ethics things you bring up is pretty good too, right? Because, like, yes, that is 100% true. Like, when you get these certifications, like, it's one of those code of ethics things that you probably just breeze through like it's a EULA, right? You're like, "Ah, okay, yeah, I won't do any of that." You don't know what you won't do, right? Until you get read, right? So, like, you're out here inadvertently doing it, but you sign saying, yeah, I accept, right? Because now I have the certification that I can put on my resume and go out there and do all these different things. Yeah, man, this is a slippery slope. But again, if you were on here looking at this job posting, you already started off wrong. You went to a site
Yeah.
it is not. I'm not
It's
saying not legitimate.
yeah, they're not tricking you into a fake job
Right.
advertisement
Right.
in this way, right? You don't think
You're,
you're
you're-
working for legitimate company.
yeah, your eyes are wide open. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to quickly go over the shadow AI topic of the article, right? It makes you put on my consultant. If you do not have an AI acceptable use policy or some kind of something to warn your employees that, hey, we need to vet whatever you're using to do work, whether it be you're trying to put this thing in production or you're feeding it, our IP or your other people's PII, PHI, things of that nature. Like you have to have something that's going to protect your company from people inadvertently spilling data into these LLMs. There it is. You have to have something. It's something as simple as a one pager to protect yourself and to, like you said, eyes wide open, right? Like you need to let your employees know that it's not acceptable to be using something that's not vetted. Because in this case, you saw that body cam, right, Sonic, Poe, PQ, and a bunch of others where they have security holes in them because they're of the use of AI applications. So there's a ton of them, but there's only a handful that have been vetted and are constantly being patched and looked over by billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies, so on and so forth. So if you are not protecting yourself, you're at risk, right? Either you accept the risk, you mitigate the risk, or you transfer the risk. You are accepting risks by not having an AI acceptable use policy, and then enforcing it on your employees, in my opinion. So yeah,
And it becomes a data privacy, right? Like, because we talk about all the time, right? We just talked about it with Meta Crackdown, right? Like your data that you have to possibly give up to further vet, these accounts are going to be doing are legitimate. Data privacy is a big thing with this, to where it's like with all these holes in here, they're going to get access to things that you didn't want them to have access to, right? Like that was not your intention when you started using all these lesser known, I should say, LLMs, but that's what you're getting yourself to.
no, absolutely. So yeah, if you need help with that, I know a guy, Ryan Williams, over at Ram Cyber. Hit me up, LinkedIn. I help you write the policy. So Shannon, how was your week?
Man, I was sick this week, so hence me missing last week's episode. I was sick this week, but I did more. It was more of the TV watching me than me watching the TV. You know what I'm saying? So it was more of let me turn something on and then lay down. You know what I mean? But no, it was an okay week. Besides that, there was some stuff I was watching. So I started watching this show. It's called The Day of the Jackal on Peacock, right? And it's got Eddie Redmayne and the female lead actor. Something. She's been in other stuff. I can't remember her name, but I don't know, man. I'm like one and a quarter episodes in, and I think for me, I don't like British British based uh movies. I guess you would say like it's like kind of like a spy thing. So like I'm guessing this guy the Jackal is a renowned assassin. I guess they're gonna get to that at some point, right? But he like it. And this is where they get me. They always start out like gangbusters. Like when it starts out, it's just like, oh my god, that was awesome. Like
Well, it's
this,
flying. Yeah.
this dude took a shot that the lady from MI6. She's like, that's impossible. Like when she saw where it came from and how he did it, she's like, that's impossible. She's like, the longest recorded is this many meters. Like he was beating it by over 1,000 feet for the shot that he took, and it was amazing how he did it. Like there was a tunnel to it, right? So like he got this person to go to this certain place by getting at one of their family members, set them up. He knew where they were going to be at the location set. So I was like, okay, this is starting off really good. And then it slows down. And then it's just like, okay, why are we at this point? You know what I mean? Like, keep going with more of that. So like I said, in the second episode, I'm like a quarter of the way through, and I'm like, I'll probably watch it. My thing is to give it 3, but I'm starting to come back. I'm starting to come down on it. I don't like doing the 3 now. And
Yeah, it's too
it's
much.
one of those things. I'm just
Like I feel, I knew at 1 or 2 is what you probably think in your head.
percent. Like if it's one that I passed on, I was like, yeah, I'd do it after the first 10 minutes. I can't say the first 10 minutes, but they keep drawing me there.
Right, right. So I think you're talking about Lashana Lynch, British
There it
actress.
is. Lashana Lynch. Yes. Yes.
So she was in Doctor Strange, No Time to Die, James Bond flick,
Yep.
right?
James Bond. Yep.
And Captain Marvel. So yeah, she The Woman King. Oh yeah, I remember in The Woman King, which excellent
Yeah.
movie. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I haven't. I noticed it's streaming.
Movie.
I noticed it's streaming.
Man,
That's the one with Viola Davis you're talking about, right?
it was so good. I saw it when I was in Turkey. I saw it in theaters. And I'm trying to put my wife onto it. She was like, "Yeah, at some point we're gonna watch it." But I'm just like, "Oh, it was so." I watched it again. Like I rarely watch movies more than once, unless it's like a nostalgic classic. I was like, that was great.
I think I saw it on Hulu. It was on one of my streaming services I went by, and it was showing up, and I was like, "Oh, it's like okay." Uh, yeah, but yeah, her,
Yeah,
and
but now that you said, yeah, I did see the trailer, but now I'm not even gonna give it a shot.
yeah, it's one of those things where I was like, let me try it, right? Like I'm trying to. I find myself being an old curmudgeon to where I'm like, I don't want to watch that. Like in my day, it was Schwarzenegger and Stallone, and that's all you needed, like
Right.
squids going off everywhere. Like I'm trying to be more open to things, but I'm like, it's just not what I like. But I want to give it more. Because her and Eddie Redmayne are both executive producers on it as well,
Okay.
right? So I'm like, all right, let me give it a shot, and I'll probably finish the second episode and be like, no, I don't want to do
Right.
it. Then there was another show my wife and I started watching because she wasn't feeling well this week either. It's one of those things where it like ran through the house, like put the signals,
I hate
what I
that.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay. Like my youngest, my daughter wasn't feeling good Saturday, and then like Sunday, like we all woke up like it's just not good, you know what I mean? And then it just carried on. We started watching this show. It's got Zachary Quinto. I don't know how you say his name. Quinto, I think he's playing Spock in the new Star Trek. The guy who plays
Right.
Spock. Brilliant Minds is the TV series.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the trailer. I'm just like,
Yeah. I should have done the same. Like it was one of those things where my wife and I spent more time together this week because I was home, you know what I mean, and she was home. So it was like, hey, what do you want to do? And so we started this series, and it starts out good. It really does start out really good, and then like there's a lull, and I'm like,
gotcha.
and my wife can tell. Like the thing is, she can tell, right? Because like I'll probably be sitting there, and then all of a sudden I pick up my phone and do something. She's like, "You're not feeling it, are you?" I'm like,
Well, I think that's just
I'm here for you, baby."
yeah. I think that's just modern writing. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. The first one has to be a banger to hook you, and then we can slow it down and get you on the story for the next two or three, and then in the middle we got to hook you again, and then get you to the end where we hook you again for next season. So
Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know. Whenever my wife and I are together, I'll probably ask, "Do you want to watch Brilliant Minds?" And then they're like, "Please, no, please."
yeah, the trailer lost me when he was taking like so his patient is tripping on some kind of drug, so he took the drug. I'm just like, he would be fired. Like it's just an automatic ethics issue.
So here's the thing. You say that he was fired. Very first episode, he was fired from his job, and he had to go somewhere else. But he has an in at this other place. This is how he's hired on to the other place. But yeah, the first hospital he worked for, they're like, yeah, no, we ain't having this.
Hey, you can't take drugs.
Well, so here's the thing. That one happened at the new place, at the new one.
Oh, okay,
He did,
gotcha.
he did something different to get fired from the first place. But again, that was in the first episode, and that's how they hooked you. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, all right, what's he gonna do? So,
Okay,
yeah. So no, you're 100% correct in that. Yes, that got him fired. It's like House, right? Like House would have been gone. Like there's no way he could have
okay,
lasted for those 7 years or whatever
right.
along the show. Where
You a dope fiend, as Judge Joe Brown was saying,
yeah.
working at a hospital. No,
If it was madness, you're automatically a crackhead. It don't matter what the
right.
drug is. You're smoking weed. You're like, yeah, yeah. That was good. Yeah, no, it was one of those things where it's like, my wife and I were just together. We watched it. It was so. We continued watching, and another one I'm not feeling is called Dr. Odyssey. I'm just kind of like, I don't know if network TV is really for me when it comes to the drama stuff. Like, I would not watch this on my own. Like I said, it was something me and her were together, and like, I know the stuff that I watch is not really for her, and the stuff she watched isn't really for me, right? So that's why I have so many TVs about, right? Kids can watch what they want to watch. Wife and I can watch something different. But like I said, we were sitting together a lot this week. So, but yeah, that one I'm like, okay, like I probably won't watch it again until she sits down and watches it with me. Uh, I think there's a gap for High Potential because no, I was telling you about High Potential. Did you start watching it? Did you start watching it?
I didn't progress yet.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot, so I've not been sick. But anytime I sit on the couch, I fall asleep. It's been the past couple weeks. I've been taking so many cat naps. It's ridiculous. So
You are sick. Your sickness is called AIDS.
man, listen. it's so frustrating because I'll then wake up and I'll be on episode 3 or 4 or 5 of the series that just started. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
so frustrating.
yeah, man. Playing a little bit of Madden, man. So like this week they did that whole thing, and you pointed it out to me, and I had seen it not too long before you put it out to me about the whole Barkley backwards hurdle thing
Yeah,
they added to the game.
yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, it was an amazing play. Don't get me wrong, right? And the fact that Madden put it in there, that's cool. I need you to fix these other glitches you got in. Because like
Right.
every time you do an update, the game reverts back to the old stuff that people hate. I'm like, we are we back to balls going through hands again? Like you guys were good like the first
It's
week.
their engine is trash. They
Yeah.
have to take a break. But what I think is going to happen is they're going to take the college football engine because everybody raves about it. Like that is actually a good game.
I think people like the environment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, okay, I see what you're saying. Like the aesthetics are what are capturing people, not necessarily the gameplay mechanics. Because I have not heard any complaints about weirdness, like people jumping 10 feet high and balls going through hands. So I was just like, just take that one and then throw on the NFL aesthetic. I make it sound too simple, right? Programming, just copy and paste, done. Save as Madden.
I'm not convinced it's not the same and they're just looking past it. Because
Uh,
because you have so many people that like the college game. Like so many people love the environment and the bands and the cheers and all that. And I'm like, I don't need that. I need realism in my game. I need what I am controlling because I'm not controlling the presentation aspect of it. Yes, it is cool. Yes, I do want it. I do want it to be accurate. You know what I mean? And Madden is pretty good about this, right? But when it comes to like team chants and stuff like that, they're very good at what is in there, right? Like Buffalo, they in there chanting all the time whenever you play them, right?
right.
Like they're going at it, you know what I mean? But like it's crazy. Every update, I kid you not, man. And like it gets to a point where like in the fourth quarter, like nobody can be tackled. It's ridiculous to me. I'm like, yo, how are you
Unstoppable.
breaking? Like, yo, like I had it one time literally because like maybe a couple times I was playing, like my wife would come down and I'd be on the game or something like that. And she'd be like, wow. I'm like, yeah, you see this, right? Like I showed the replay and I'm like, broken tackle, and like and the thing is, I'm like, okay, maybe it's me. Maybe I just don't know. So then I go to the depth chart and I look at the stats for these different types of things. And I'm like, he should have never even caught that one-handed. Like, it catches like an 83. Like, how'd that happen? Right? Spectacular catch is like a 70, you know. So you caught it with one hand, got hit immediately, spun off of that, spun out of a linebacker that has an 88 tackle, you know, stuff like that. And it's just like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, if I call the play and I beat you, let it happen. Take that L, right? You can't break 4 tackles to get the touchdown for 60 yards. It's like, what is going on? You know what I mean? But yeah, it's getting on my nerves, man. But it's the only game out there. It's the only football game out there. And that's what I can't wait for. It could be anybody else that does an NFL game.
See,
I can't wait for them to lose
I don't
exclusivity.
want 2K to get it because like they're mechanically sound, but they will microtransaction you to death now. They got it down to a science. They are a casino.
I don't need it.
I cannot take it.
So for me, it's not a problem because the creative player stuff is not something I do. Right. So like I
Okay.
know a lot of people love that aspect of the game. Because like when it comes to 2K, when it comes to the basketball game, I know like if you
Yeah.
do the whatever
The
it is,
ultimate
ephemeral,
teams, all that stuff too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't do it. Like I don't care about the ultimate team, the picking up the players. Like I'm a GM, and I find myself spending a lot more time doing that. I find myself spending a lot more time doing the GM aspect of it, to where like I build a team and I'll leverage my future. I'm like the Rams where they're like F them picks. You know what I mean? Like you go and look because like something they've done lately is they'll do 3 years worth of draft pick, right? Which I'm like, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like that's very futuristic. You know what I mean? Because you have that now where teams will be trading draft picks 3 years out. So like you can look at mine after I've done all these trades and everything for my team. I might have like 3 draft picks for like the next 3 years. I've leveraged everything. You know what I mean? But just give me the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's pretty much been it for me, man. What about you? How was you?
Pretty good. But so I wanted to circle back just real quick on college football. I just saw a stat that's ridiculous. Did you know? Because there was $100 versions for you to play it a couple days early. So I'm cool with that. Like it sounds counter. Like I'm going to sound like a hypocrite. But here's my thing. I don't want downloadable content. I don't want microtransactions. But if you want to charge those people who want the game early extra $30, and that will somehow satiate you, cool. It won't be me. I'm not going to pay for it extra because it's probably broken. Anyway, so I'll wait, let them beta test it, and then give it to me. $100 version. They sold 2.2 million copies of it. So it might actually be the #1 selling game of the year. And it came out during the summer, right? That's how desperate people were for college football.
Yes.
Like 2.2 million copies of just early access. So you got to think, what about the regular copies that were sold? Free. EA made so much money. And they paid the kids, which I appreciate. It wasn't a lot, but you had to pay every single kid on the roster. So I think it was like the equivalent of $600 per kid or something like that.
It was
Get a copy of the game. I'm down for that. For a college kid who will probably not go to the league, right? Getting paid $600 just to be in the game and whatever other endorsements they could do on the side. I'm down for that too. So I think in this regard, EA is doing this thing. The pro side, trash. So they figure it out, EA. But yeah, my week was fairly quiet, man. I'm just wrapping up for the holidays, right? Doing a bunch of research in the books, mostly catnapping. Every time I open a book, every time I crack a book, sleep. I'm starting to think that there's tranquilizers in the pages. Every time I crack a book, I go to sleep. I beat Space Marine 2. So, man, listen, I really think I think this is a Shannon game. Like, it's a pro shooter to its core. Like, there was this, because it's always wrapping up, right? And like, everybody has like these deep voices, like, brother, do it for the, like, the Emperor's blessing. Like, so it's like they're like knights and Marines, and it's retro futuristic. The guns are ridiculously huge, a lot of combat. Like, it just feels fun and good. Like, it feels like it scratches that Gears of War itch I've had for the past couple of years. But it also does the big Hollywood stuff, right? So like one point we're fighting for the fate of the universe, right? Because that's what it comes down to. And I think he's a captain. He was like, on your way, I need you to pick up the standard. Like X troop dropped the standard. Like, so they dropped the banner for the Space Marines on the battlefield. So we're going to take a detour from saving the universe to go get the standard, because we cannot have it. And it's epic. Yeah, it's epic. We get to it. We're on a pile of dead bodies. He's holding the standard in one hand. He's pulled out the humongous pistol in the other. Like when a portal opens up and all the bad guys start flooding in, I'm just headshot. It's just so epic. The music is swelling. I'm like, this is definitely satisfying that itch. I'm like, I will play Space Marine 3. You got a fan now. I'm a Warhammer 40K fan now. So, and there's rumors of a movie being made. It's a long time franchise, so it's been long overdue. And a Henry Cavill wants to be in it. So I'm like, okay, you get Henry Cavill, you get Batista, you put them in giant mech suits. I'm down for it. I'll go to the theater and watch that.
So I got a question. Is Henry Cavill like a really big video game guy? Because I know with The Witcher, he was very, like, he didn't continue with it because they weren't keeping true to the source material or something. Like, what was the deal with that?
It was also shooting. Like, he was having conflicts with shooting some of the Superman stuff with it too, or something like that. But yeah, they veered off. Like, I'm not a big Witcher fan anyway. Like, I never got into it. It's high fantasy. I'm a big sci-fi guy, so I usually don't play those games. I might play Witcher 3 because it's still considered a standard, like a classic standard in gaming. So I may one day, but I looked at it. It's like Assassin's Creed. Like all them question marks and icons pop up, and I'm just like, I can't take my OCDs. Like, nah, because I have to go to each one of those things. I have to. But yeah, he's a big game nerd. Like, they show him break down his PC. Like, he has a YouTube video where he pulls out his PC and he's breaking it down, upgrading parts and stuff like that. So you gotta think Superman. So he's humongous. So it makes the computer look extra small. He's in there tinkering around with it. So he's a big nerd. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but that Superman money probably built a really good PC though.
Yeah, exactly. You got the best of the best. But yeah, he's the one who asked to be in Warhammer 40K. So like he's like bringing things into fruit, like, and he's breathing life into certain genres and certain games.
So is he gonna be a producer as well then? Like when he does stuff like this? Like I'm
Maybe.
curious. Like
I don't know.
He'll have more say. Because if he's the producer, then he can dictate the direction better.
Right. Make it more authentic or whatever. But yeah, I like it, man. Like I think he's doing a good job in that field. Like keep it up. What else? We talked about the Pope's Exorcist last week, so I watched that. One of the best horror movies in a long time. It was coherent. It was well acted. Special effects were off the chain. Like
That's the Russell Crowe one, right?
yeah, I was
I
really surprised.
I've seen that, and like I didn't mind it, but a lot of people were not fans. It was okay. Yeah, a lot of people were not fans apparently.
Because usually they're either they get dumb or they get incoherent, and I still watch them. I like them. I like those type of movies. But this one, I was at the end of it. I was like, it's really good. One of the best of that genre, right? So I was like, I'd watch a sequel if they did one. Which I don't know if they maybe do a prequel. I don't know. But yeah, turn that into a franchise instead of and I watched the Annabelle stuff, but there's too many of them. Like you gotta curb that one. Like you got Annabelle and The Nun too. Like it's a humongous cinematic universe of scary movies that all tie into each other. It's getting kind of
Those all tie into each other.
Yeah, they all touch each other. Yep.
Really? Okay, I was not aware of that.
And they're good for the most part. Don't get me wrong. There's just too many of them. Like I'm missing. I got gaps. I'm just like, there's just too many of these movies popping up. It's like the kind of like, so what is it? It's The Conjuring, right? So The Conjuring, Annabelle, The Nun, like that's a whole universe to itself.
Annabelle's the doll, right? The haunted doll.
Yeah, because so if you watch The Conjuring, there is a husband and wife that are like mediums. They go into houses and one of the houses had Annabelle doll in it, and they had the painting from The Nun too, and like they become spinoffs of this franchise. Sometimes they come back in those movies as well. Shout out to The Nun 2. That was actually pretty good though. Like The Nun 2 is better than Nun 1. I'm not gonna lie. Because Nun 1 was incoherent.
Very rarely do you have a sequel that does better than the original. Like, that's very rare.
But I like Nun 2 was much better. And it was actually had a lot of good scares in it too. But I digress. I'm off. Where was I going with this? Oh, so yeah, I watched Pope's Exorcist last week. Yesterday I watched the new Bad Boys show on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Did actually, you know what? Yes, I did. I forgot about that. I did watch that.
It's really good. I stopped at
the new one.
It's not as good as the other ones. It's like missing something. But action wise, I thought that they did it because they do this thing, right? Like nowadays, they like to top themselves, right? So they're putting the camera in new places. Like I swear they just stuck a camera onto guns. Sometimes they're just running around with cameras.
They did because Will is doing that. Like it flips even because like it's like a first person shooter game.
Okay.
So my wife and I were watching it, and she's like, I don't like that. I was like, yeah, it's like a first person shooter game. And then the camera flips, and it's him, and you see him doing this. And I'm like, okay, I don't like it the first way. I didn't like it.
Right.
I did watch that, but I was kind of like, and here's the thing, right? Like, and it picked up on them. I don't know if you saw the Michael Bay thing yet. Did you pick up on the director?
I'm 20 minutes from finishing it, but I think I did. Was it when he was backing up through the street?
The guy, no.
He was like, I can't die.
Yeah,
and then
the guy in the Porsche, the guy that was
okay.
It looked like the original Porsche from the first Bad Boys. It looked like, but yeah, that blonde guy that he hits the car and he's talking to him like it was out of nowhere. I was like, I think that's Michael Bay, and I had to look him up, and I was like, yeah, that's him. I showed it to my wife. I was like, yeah, it's him. But I don't know, man. I was not as thrilled with this one as I was the other one. The third one I really liked. I don't know why. I don't know if it was because of the story and what they had to do, but I did watch that. That was one of the things I did.
I didn't finish it because again, I was all into it and then lights out. So I got to go back and watch the last 20 minutes. So here's the thing though. It just feels like they have just they need a little bit more story. It feels kind of like the first three were more like the first Fast and Furious. And this one is more like the new Fast and Furious, where it's more the action than the story. It's got it gets a little incoherent. It's like, how is he holding that upside down, holding the rope? I was like,
It gets weird. Like you hit that on the head, man. Like it's like, I don't understand how you got to this point. Cause like there's the part where Martin, like when he is, has his thing and he sees a certain, incident or whatever it may be to where, did I do that? I'm sorry. I saw the thumb up.
Yeah, the thumbs up.
Yeah. But that part I was kind of like, I don't know about that. And then he comes out and like his whole what he has been the last 3 movies has changed. He's like, nah, it's not the thing. Like I can't die, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know, man. But like when you watch the last 20 minutes, like he come, you'll see.
Of so
That doesn't last the whole movie. Okay, he's like, I can't die. Like, it doesn't. So I'm not giving a spoiler to where anybody died or
right.
the way he feels changes. But yeah, I did watch it. I would like to see a little bit more story too. And I know that's crazy for me to say because I'm always like, just shoot them up or
It is
whatever.
a little loose, where it's
Yeah,
just like we're focused more on over the top action or what
yeah,
have you. But I'm still enjoying it. It's still a fun ride. Um, it's on Netflix, right? I didn't go to theater to see it, so that gives it a little bit of sway. It's kind of like watching the fight. It was on Netflix, so I was just like, man, I didn't pay pay-per-view money. T-Mobile pays for my Netflix, so it is what it is. But I feel like before I land this plane, I gotta talk about it. I got the uh, PlayStation 5 Pro 30th anniversary limited edition bundle. That's a mouthful. So I got one. I got it the old-fashioned way. All I did was log in. I popped up in the virtual queue, and then when I went to check out, it was still there, still available. So I bought it. So very boring. I know. My console is number 11,483. They only made 12,300 of these bad boys, and well worth the money. Like I know a lot of people are like $700 for a console is a bit expensive, and I get that because it doesn't have a disk drive, it doesn't have a stand. It's like you're just getting the console, and it's only so much better than the original. But this bundle, they threw in a DualSense controller. Everything it has the custom colors. It's obviously numbered and etched. Just the finer details, like it said, you get a DualSense, you get the regular controller, you get a carrying case, you get charging cables, you get you get the charging dock, so I can charge 2 of them at the same time. Then you get a bunch of rando accessories like nostalgia stuff, like cable ties that are shaped like the sacred symbols. You get a charging cover that makes it look like the old school PS1 controller, like you had to plug it into the console. It's dripping with nostalgia. So, and if anything, I think $700 is overpriced. I think $9.99 for the bundle was under. I would have paid 12 or 14. Yeah, it's so like even down to the material, like the box
the box was good.
the box weighs like almost 10 pounds.
The box was cool. Like I saw the little bit of your unboxing that you did when you sent it to us, and I was like, wow. I was like, that is cool.
They stuck their foot in it. So like the whole pricing structure is kind of weird, and it's 2 terabytes, right? So you get in a whole extra terabyte and some change because the original only had 800 um gigs was the because it was custom storage at that time. So you get a lot for $9.99. So I'm kind of I feel bad that there weren't a lot of them. A lot of people who wanted it could not get it. I did a whole unboxing. So the 51-second version of it is on YouTube now. That's about 1,000 views. But the video, I thought I was going to work with somebody, send it to him and have it done. I put out a bid. He bid, and then his counter was 10 times what I originally bid. So I'm going to do it myself. So, expecting not to look as good, to not be as polished, and for it to not be as done as quickly as I thought it would be. But I think people will really enjoy it. So it's an opportunity for people to see it who weren't able to get their hands on it, and I think it'll pull people to the channel. Come for the unboxing, stay for the cyber. We'll see how that goes. Probably be like a good 15-minute video, 15 to 20 minutes. So definitely check that out. But yeah, he wanted $20 a minute or something like that. And initially, I think my equivalent of would have been like $2 a minute or something like that. Like, so he jumped high. I'm sure it would have been amazing. You ain't getting that now. Now you're getting whatever I put together. It is what it is. But definitely check out that when you come back, or I'll put it in the newsletter as well. Like once it's done, I'll put it there. But yeah, that was my week. So hit up all the websites that go by our name: the other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW, Ask the CISSP, or ramcyber.io. You hit me up personally, I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me on all the social media platforms just about, but LinkedIn is where I'm most active, so definitely hit me up there if you have questions or you want to talk. And then if you you need a little consulting, I'm your guy. Hit me up. I'll help you out. Like we talked about the AI acceptable use policy. I got you. Stay safe. Stay secure.